We finally made it to the Match Point Finals, the apex of every single Apex league. It is what everyone is always looking forward to from the very start, ever since the format debuted at the preseason invitational all those years ago. And we're back for another set here for the end of stage 1 of season 4 of the Octane Collegiate season. My name's Happy, joined by Dia, and we could not be more excited to bring to you today's action that is sure to be very exciting in one of the most exciting formats that all of esports has to offer.
Especially with the multiple weekends of playoffs leading up to this. I think you're right, Happy. It's not physically possible for me to be more excited about today's games, and at the same time, less prepared, because I've watched all of the stages leading up to this, and not a single one of them has given me a clear idea of what's going to happen tonight. We've had so many ups and downs for our rosters. Even yesterday, there were teams that barely slid in who should have been easy quals, and teams that I didn't expect to be easily qualifying. I'm talking about Guelph as a duo specifically in our first couple of games that blew me out of the water. So what's going to happen today in the finals, as you said, the culmination of stage 1? There is, fortunately or unfortunately, only one way to find out.
Yeah, as we know in Collegiate, is always going to be a wealth of teams in terms of the skill gap. A lot of teams who are a lot more casual about it. Some teams with a lot more competitive experience, but even still, a bunch of notable squads maybe missing the cut. I think ISU Farmers, the most notable one who missed out in the semifinals. They're a team who will not be here. Gamerhawks Navy had a pretty good regular season. They will not be joining us for the Match Point Finals. Ottawa Garnet had a good season through the regular season, at least through contenders. They were the second best team. They got a win yesterday, still wasn't enough to sneak them through. So plenty of teams that weren't even good enough to make it here. And this is without a doubt the highest skill ceiling we've ever seen on an Octane season. We've got more Pro League players than ever before making their mark on this season. But up to this point, we haven't really had them all in one lobby together at the exact same time. Now we're going to see who will sink or swim with all of the other best teams in the lobby.
That's the scary thing, is that no matter how you've done leading up to today, it's already paid out for you. All of our teams have done their drafting across the 3 maps that we're going to be playing today. We'll be going across World's Edge, Stormpoint, and E-District in that order. But beyond those small advantages that teams were able to accrue, there's not a whole lot more that you're able to get coming into today. There are no advanced starting points. There's no extra special thing that you get for being the first team out of the upper bracket to make it in. The semifinals, they were fantastic, but they only give you so much of an advantage, and it really comes down to whether your team can show up on the day, and like you said, last through the trials of match points, something that you rarely get to experience in Apex because it is the pinnacle of the game, but it takes so much out of teams to stay consistent and competitive when you don't know when the series could end.
We've got all of our teams ordered 1 to 20. This is the order of the seeding coming into today. That means that the teams at the higher end, they had better draft picks and they had better performances in the semifinals. So Fisher, a team who was just farming kills in their semifinals lobby. Bellevue, the winners of the Proton sort of preseason invitational that we held just a few months back, the winners of Match Point format they're continuing to prove they're one of the top teams. Southern Miss, the winners of the lobby that we got to see part of on stream yesterday, and I watched the entirety of later on in the day, along with SJSU Blue just behind them. Meanwhile, the teams like Texas Orange, Western Outlaws, UC Irvine, and Minnesota State Mavericks barely snuck in by a couple of points, especially for those teams in that semifinals B lobby. It was a very near margin between making and missing this Match Point lobby. Not only were you struggling as it was, but now you're coming into this with a slightly weaker pick as well. And you're looking up towards the top of that lobby at some of the big names that are on that team. It can be very scary for some of those low-end teams. So it'll be interesting to see if any of them can step up today, as we are already ready to go for game number 1 on World's Edge.
And I'm going to direct everybody's focus up towards the upper left portion of your map over in Skyhook West and Trials at Fisher Esports. Absolutely the team to look out for as we start today's games. Yesterday, in 8 games, they accrued 149, I believe it was, points.
Yep.
That is an average of 18 points per game, which is more than a win and by quite a healthy margin. This is definitely the team that you want to keep your eyes on today because they're going to make a big splash in the lobby. And the big question around Fisher for me is, yes, they're such a dominant team. Yes, they can perform at such a high caliber. But despite that, they didn't actually win that many games. The team that you alluded to, Southern Miss, actually won more games on the day. And in match point, that's really what matters. Yes, you have to hit a points threshold. But after that, if you can't win a game, you can't close it out.
Yeah, Fisher Esports, it's good that you point that out. 109 kills yesterday to get 145. But like you said, only 2 times did they even finish in the top 2, and only 1 time did they actually get a win. And so for game number 1, already eyes towards Fisher, eyes towards teams like Bellevue, like Southern Miss, as some of those first teams to make it to match point. But making it to match point and winning match point, like you talked about, 2 completely different things as we get into game number 1. And this is a very odd ring pull. Ring number 1 makes it look like it's going to the south end, maybe that southeast side towards Dome and Stacks, but it's actually a counter pull all the way back to Harvester. So a major advantage to teams that have that ring console information, at least moving towards the POIs that it will go towards.
And that means you're really lucky if you're a team like San Jose State Blue, who have got Lava Siphon and a ring console over there. Cumberland University, maybe not so lucky in thermal, but Western Outlaws actually have a pretty good read on this ring, it appears, despite not actually having the early information that you would get by landing somewhere like Harvester, where Kennesaw State Black know that the zone is coming to them. Western Outlaws still have a really good position, and anywhere up on the hilltop surrounding Harvester should be good for the late game. There are a few edge cases that we'll get into. The south end of this zone could be really important, but as a general rule, when we go Harvester, you either want to be in Harvester proper or fighting for the hillside.
And San Jose State Blue look like they're about to run up on KSU Black. They've taken the upper side of the building that KSU have the low side of, and so now Kindly Monkey and the boys are going to need to start to tuck back away. They no longer have the height to work with, and they have to hope that it specifically pulls over to this west side of the lobby. I was actually in a scrim lobby last night with KSU Black as they prepared for this match point format. They're, I believe, the only team that was in that lobby with me, but it's really nice to see that some of these teams are doing quite a good job getting ready. And KSU Black, one of the teams to look out for, is a team that'll put themselves in good spots quite often. They qualified here, not off of fragging out from the Fisher lobby. Obviously, it's going to be tough to do that, but off of getting some really good placements and making some good ring calls. So already, I have faith in their choice of selections.
That is really going to be the win condition, as we talked about. And these early games are, of course, about getting as many points as possible, but also setting yourself up to stay competitive with the top of the lobby, because there is inevitably going to be 1 or 2 teams that get out ahead of everyone else. You don't want to be the squad that is left behind in the dust. Middle of the pack, upper middle, that is where you're aiming, and it is a very vague spot to aim at for these teams, making it difficult to sort through the early game. You'll notice we have not yet dropped players full thirsted anyways, as somebody's showing up in the kill feed, but we've got very little time left where that's going to be true, because already our edge teams are fighting and we've got zone teams poking at each other. Not everybody is going to last through this war of attrition.
Let's look over there.
And already so many spots taken incredibly fast within the ring. A lot of these teams that were farming kills on edge up to this point in this season, even like Cumberland, the team who as recent as yesterday, we saw running around the lobby trying to get as many kills as possible. They're on Caustic Newcastle trying to pick a spot in Harvester. They do get to a good spot. And even Bellevue still rocking that Caustic, looking like they have a little bit more aggressive of a plan with both the Altar and the Bangalore, but it speaks to the idea that even the best teams who up to this point in the season have been able to mow down some of those weaker squads, they're locking in today in an attempt to really maximize their placement, because they know they're not just going to be able to take easy 3v3s on the edge. Even Guelph, another team we saw running around a lot yesterday, God knows they were doing a lot of running. And they're on Catalyst and Watson.
I mean, for those of you who might not have caught the preliminary rounds yesterday in the semifinals, Guelph were playing as a duo for at least the first 4 games. I saw they finished as a trio. I don't know when that happened. But
Game 5, they got a third.
Yeah, and they were easily in the top 5 as a duo. So now that they're starting with 3, who's to say what Guelph have for us? Bellevue, however, really not giving up the chase. They've been fighting Augusta ever since launch site and have relentlessly chased this team, picking up at least the singular knock. It's looking like 2, and that means KP to follow as Augusta have disengaged over towards Stacks.
Maybe an altar on Augusta's side that could have taken a TP away, but can't be 100% on that. Should still be the finish to come. Yep. No TP taken. Juxie's time is going to be wasted a little bit, but the finish will still come through, and Bellevue locked down the second kill of the game, as it looks like somebody else was lost much earlier on. But they clearly have no plans to make it to Ring 2 too soon. They didn't quite have the information. This is a tough Ring 2 read, and it's Fisher, a team looking to maybe get the first squad wipe of the game. We knew they were going to go for some fights, and Dom2Crack is going to open this one up strong. A big one clip for Serial Cat as well. And now Habaneros heads for the hills, as his teammates are no longer up anymore. It's UCSD that are about to go fully down, as Rumbly, Yuffie, and Habaneros, the first 3 full players to fall.
It's a great start for Fisher, who we did expect to be fragging out, but to
Wow.
not drop a single member means that Ottawa Braves, who try and get in on this fight, are instantly shut down with that one clip. Serial Cat starts it, Dom2Cracked finishes it, and Fisher Esports have taken down 1.3 squads in what was really just one fight.
Psycho now in a different engagement, very low, not as low as Dude Man, who's already lost his life, and now Lefter is also going to be gone. It's UIUC, the Illinois Orange, who are coming through with a pretty solid fight. Now, although there is a knock, it's not really going to serve to do too much, other than maybe make a third party more potent. But as you can see, Soma very aware of this threat, but it's not a threat that will be acted upon. Illinois Orange able to lock down 3 clean KP inside of Monument.
UC Irvine, we're one of the teams that barely snuck into today. Pretty rough games yesterday, and it's an even rougher start today. Taking a look at this upcoming ring, though, it does look like the hillside is going to age well. We're not pulling too far south this time around, and we highlighted Western Outlaws' position early, where they are in the building between Staging and Harvester. This should be a really good spot for them. Teams like University of Utah that are trying to rotate in late, they're having a really tough time, because if you're not in Harvester and you're not in the one building that Western Outlaws occupy, there really isn't cover to play in zone until we get to much later rings.
KSU Black also with an outstanding call to take one of the first really good spots inside of Harvester. The team that landed there, making good on the zone pull that they got. Is Zwifty's going to go down for Tamu Maroon. Juxie, the one to find that kill. And it seems like Bellevue, as active as ever on the edge, trying to find some kills. They found one early onto Augusta. They find another onto Tamu Maroon. Yet to find a full squad wipe. But 1 or 2 kills at a time, that's still KP that you're locking down. And they're looking to find the rest of Tamu as they're chasing them all the way into Thermal. Specifically a part of Thermal that isn't going to be in the next ring, and a part of Thermal that is also occupied by the Ottawa Braves, who are seemingly trying to get a res. It's a full-on 2v2 inside of Thermal, with Nabber barely getting a battery off, but 2 cracks found for Tamu. This is a good opening into the fight. They get info on Reap as well. He'll get taken down by Dom2Crack, though, who I think is a 4th party coming into the engagement.
That means Fisher Esports have extended all the way out here. The Ottawa Braves, like you talked about, looking for their reset, have found a whole lot more trouble than they bargained for. And this area of Thermal doesn't get easier if you're trying to find your way out. Texas A&M may very well just choose to dip into the zone, try and find some utility out of the crafter, because that's what you came into Thermal for. Once you've lost a teammate, Ottawa Braves are here for the same reason that Tamu are. You need access to a crafter in order to get your teammates back.
Everybody went for one crafter, and it seems like nobody actually gonna get the chance to craft. With Fisher nearly ready to sneak up onto Bellevue, Juxie spotted. Vautry with him, though, so Dom is gonna know better than to take that fight too early. He thinks Juxie saw him, though, so we'll have to settle for 30 damage and running away. Muffins is isolated from his teammates, though, so there may need to be a alter TP placed down so Bellevue can get back together. But it's Ottawa Braves who've lost their final member. They'll go down in 18th place. And Bellevue fully entering into this scrap with Fisher. Doesn't seem to be one they were super ready for, but Juxie still able to get the opening pick onto Serial Cat. Dom was able to trade that out, but Vautry now under heavy threat. Needs to try and make a play. He gets a finish on the Serial Cat after the lifeline res was attempted. And now he gets straight into the middle. Once the auto swap barely gets it off. And that's going to be really huge, but he still loses his life. Muffins barely any HP left. It's Slockulus who's able to clean sweep
Tamu?
it, but then he'll die right after to Tamu Maroon, who get their third back up and clean up the fight.
What a nade from Pear! That was the thing that took out the second member of Fisher Esports, a sky nade from below. Texas A&M get the craft, get the res, and get two teams eliminated from their side of the map out of a res at Thermal. What a finish on those two squads.
Incredibly well played for Tamu, and just not a team that we expected to even come back into the picture at all. As everybody there except for Tamu, that being Ottawa Braves, Fisher Esports, and Bellevue, none of them will get a single placement point out of it. You'll have to be content with what little KP you had, and this is the story every time we get to these match point finals. It's always these teams that are so dominant, so good at fighting, trying too hard to fight too much early on, and not really being rewarded for it. As these teams that took early spots in Harvester still all the potential in the world to maximize their points.
Speaking of teams that are good at fighting, right? Tune into Guelph, and Lord knows what they're going to give to us today. Harvester is a difficult spot to make your way out of, and as we got teased to us with the ring pull that was previewed, you are going to have to make your way out of Harvester pretty darn quickly. Illini Orange, they might not know it, but they definitely feel it coming and are starting to rotate out towards the north. San Jose State Blue in a very tricky situation right now. Do still have a res on Shmub and the chance to hold out other squads that might not be so lucky as to have the high ground position that SJSU rotated to early.
Guelph rotate out of their initial position. It looks like UIUC, the ones who were trying to contest them for that spot, now in an awkward position against the ring. They're going to have to try and make a very awkward rotate through the open fire, but Plum Toaster had to reload. It's okay though, because Future Streams had his triple takeout and knocked down Soma. That's the Rampart losing HP, and that's Parksa going down right after. It's got to be Zuemo in the one versus the rest of the world for UIUC. Still not too worried about it though, because that Spitfire has all the chances in the world to start to get some kills back. He lost one teammate fully, but Minnesota Mavericks are also getting punished heavily for trying to play here. And before UIUC goes down, it's Minnesota State Mavericks to lose their squad in 14th place.
With Minnesota and Augusta both gone, we are down to 12. Illini Orange will make that an even number. And Guelph still fighting inside of this little snake leading out of Harvester. Have their own difficulties cut out for them. No rotation available. Guelph will go down. It is about an exodus from Harvester at this point. We've talked about Western Outlaws who are laughing, having a good time, sitting inside the building. They are chilling. For everybody inside Harvester, that is not the case. Even for KSU, who had such a good spot off, like you said, their drop at Harvester, an early spot selection, there's only a sliver of it left, and realistically, SJSU and Kennesaw will have to fight for the remainder of Harvester.
And everybody else who's still in Harvester, KSU Gold, still needing to take some fights with the Seer already through game number 1. They're going to look for a spot in the low ground, just somewhere to maybe reset. This is not going to be a playable position forward, though, especially without Rampart, without Newcastle. They're going to have to make something work in the open space. Is San Jose State Blue looking to go straight into that area that KSU Black were playing before, but KSU Black are holding it down. Wrecked Emporium is going to shut down Viking Cap. Shmub and Nikosu need to back off because the caustic gas did so much damage, and now SJSU Blue is going to have to rethink it.
Southeastern have gone down, but ASU did a great job with the repelling, I'm going to go with,
yeah, that works.
Of San Jose State Blue. Them claiming the top level of Harvester, though, is going to be pretty tough. It's not an easy spot to hold on to once everything gets settled and teams from the top of the hillside are able to shoot down onto you. Not a lot of space for Kennesaw State Gold to work with. We'll see how they survive. Texas Orange, unfortunately, will not do so, and we are down to 8 squads with CSU Fullerton being the team to look down on Harvester and everyone else.
Now, CSU Fullerton, a team that did really well, like KSU Black, off of getting good placement yesterday. They picked a good spot out here, but they aren't playing it so well, because they've just lost one to a very far away angle. Misplays, doing some damage, not quite going to get anything more onto that team low ground, going to take quite a lot. That's Southern Miss, who've been forced down to the low ground. And it's CSUF who control that height in a very good position, while it's Cumberland very far away, who are going to have quite the rotate up ahead of them without a ton to work with. If you can get that Valcolt off, that'll be helpful. but there's not a guarantee that it'll happen with 8 teams left in this smaller ring.
If CSU Fullerton play their cards right, they can get an immense amount of KP with the high ground. Texas A&M Maroon, they're not so lucky. Realistically, Texas A&M will have to do enough damage to Western Outlaws that they're able to move up and play the other side of this building. It is also worth noting that in a power position, Kennesaw State Black are playing in one of the late game positions for this ring, and a winner at that, on the low ground in the rift between these hillsides, something that Western Outlaws can't poke at, CSU Fullerton can't poke at, no one has access to. Kennesaw State, quite safe, safer even than Western Outlaws.
As the ring starts to close, the KSU Gold team with San Jose State Blue right below them are both going to have to make plays. Southern Miss also looking to make a play right next to them. It's all of these teams from the east side of the ring moving over, but A-Flow gets caught through an caustic barrel, and that gives the way in that Mangsta needed for USM. 150 spray for Thales as he's going to continue to look to finish someone off. They can't find A-Flow just yet, but eventually they'll start to find everything. They lost Thales in the process, though, and so even though they take down CSUF, they'll need to try to reset, but I don't think anybody is going to be fast enough to take this spot away from them, as KSU Gold just across the way might have to fight down. They're going to look for KP, and they'll fight it onto SJSU Blue, but now they're going to look for a spot, and I don't think there's an obvious one for them to try to move to. However, they seem to be away from the kill feed, so I don't think they've been punished for playing out in the open just yet.
Texas A&M have made the move that they needed to, playing on the outside. Southern Miss go down. That is a huge push by Kennesaw State Gold to clean them up. Texas A&M still playing on top of Western Outlaws, mind you. There are 2 teams on and in this building.
Yeah, Western Outlaws on top, Kennesaw State Black. They're very spread out. Tamu Maroon is the team inside the building. KSU Black have 1 team still in the canyon. Another player, or 2 players, kind of ratting next to the bins with Cumberland University also seemingly towards the canyon, and KSU Gold, as we got to see, in a pretty solid spot. KSU Black actually get a res off, but it's not going to be too long for the world because they got resed right into Cumberland. And with that, Cumberland are going to recognize that there's another team in this canyon. They've got to try and go for the clear. They'll at least get the finish on the limbo, but it looks like the rest of KSU Black was able to hide for now.
I don't know, Cumberland really want to finish these kills. It's difficult too because nobody's playing the other ridge line, so there's not a lot of cover for Cumberland or Kennesaw State Black if, say, Kennesaw State Gold want to start looking down. The problem for every team in the lobby right now is Texas A&M Maroon, who have ultimate high ground and are thus the team that can really bully everyone. That includes eventually Kennesaw State Black, with Kennesaw State Gold being the only team that's holding Tamu at bay.
Respawn beacon is going to be hit. That's at least something to get Limbox back into the game for KSU Black, as it's ending very close to this canyon. That could be a third back into the fray that you might need to try and take down Cumberland later. Cumberland caught between a rock and a hard place. They're playing this middle of the zone, but there are so many teams that can make plays onto them. And I don't know if they can hold this ground for reliably long. The moment someone gets down, they'll probably get thirded for this spot. And this is a spot that could easily win you the game, and that's what just happened. Pair downs 1. It's Syken going down, and it's the rest of Tamu Maroon looking to collapse on this with KSU Black on the other side. And it's all of Cumberland stuck in the middle. They're going to be gone in 5th place. Tamu somehow managed to, and Western Outlaws, they'll go down in 4th place.
But now Kennesaw State Gold, they're the only team left up on the high ground. They're the team bullying everyone. Texas A&M down on the low ground, haven't finished everyone off yet. Kennesaw State Black are still in the corner, and now it's both Kennesaw rosters beating up on Tamu. Which of our Kennesaws will win? Because Tamu, by going down to the low ground, have given up their only shot at a victory. Texas A&M will fall. We've only got 1 member of Kennesaw State Black left, and it's Gold's chance to finish the game and find the win in game number 1.
What a game for Kennesaw State. Pick and choose whichever one I'm talking about. It's still correct. They get 1st and 2nd, but the Gold roster, the ones to do it. The Gold roster, one of the most winningest organizations in the history of Octane Collegiate. One of the most winningest schools in general is Kennesaw State, but it's always historically been that Gold roster. Misplays leading the way, as per usual. They're able to do what they do best and find some wins, get some points on the board early by picking out some good spots in ring. Kudos to both of them, specifically Kennesaw State Gold, because they weren't the team who landed at Harvester. That would be the Black roster. So you got a POI, you got a pull to your POI, and you managed to turn it into a 2nd place. That's good. But Kennesaw State coming up from launch site on a zone that wasn't very easy to predict. Kudos to them for still being able to navigate that zone incredibly well and play for the height by the very end. It basically felt like all that Tamu and KSU Black could do was play for second, because we knew that Gold from the height were going to do something.
Yeah, there were a lot of weird things about Kennesaw Gold's game as well, because while their fundamentals were very good as to what positions they could prioritize and not, I'm left wondering at the end of this game, we had a lot of teams that, like Cumberland, chose to forego the high ground, which surprised me initially for them as they were running Newcastle, but then we also had Tamu that chose not to play for their building and instead commit to the low ground as well. It's a very tempting spot to be, and often low ground ends up winning the game. But that's only when multiple teams are fighting for high ground. And I think we had a lot of squads that, in figuring out this lobby, are thinking academically about where they've seen teams win before, while not fully aware of what everyone else's victory condition was. And I think that's really what Kennesaw State Gold had as an edge across everyone else, is that even from a pretty rough position, Kennesaw State Gold were always playing in such a way that put them in a winning position relative to everyone else.
And that gets them that win. But how many kills did they get? We can take a look at the scoreboard to see just how many points overall they were able to pull off. 15 kills to make it a 27-point game for KSU Gold. They are 12 points ahead of the teams tied for second and third, as it's Southern Miss, despite the fact that they only got 6th place, getting 12 kills along the way to tie themselves with that 3rd place team from last game, Tamu Maroon. And then, of course, KSU Black, the team that got 2nd place last game, getting 5 kills to just barely be outside of that two-way tie for 2nd place. They find themselves in 4th with 14. Otherwise, everybody else is stuck at 6 or below.
It's a tough place to be, but it is just the first game if you are one of the teams that is in the sub 10s right now. It's going to happen to most of it. You know, it's not everybody gets to win on match 1. And the important thing to keep track of here is match point eligibility as we move through our first couple of games. Kennesaw State Gold have made it almost halfway to match point eligibility, which is at 60 points. So for those of you who may just be tuning in because you love collegiate esports so much but don't quite know what's going on in Apex, you do have to hit 60 points before you then win a game and are able to win the whole thing. Get 60 points, find a win, and then you've got it all. Kennesaw State Gold, with their 27-point victory, are just 3 points shy of halfway, and after one game, that's pretty darn impressive.
And already proving that they have what it takes to get a win, which, you know, seems like an obvious statement, but it's big for teams in match point. A lot of the times, we talk about how there are a lot of very good teams who can kill till the lights turn off. They can do whatever it takes to get some kills and points on the edge. But when it comes to closing out games, it's not something they succeed at. KSU Gold are very good at navigating their way to the end game. They got 3 top 4s in the lobby leading up to this. They got top 10 in every single game but 1 in semifinal A. And even that first game that they got not top 10 in, they got a 15th place with 4 kills, but it was the first game of the day. So you could even say, like, I know we needed to warm up. After that first game of the day, they got top 10 every single time. So they're giving themselves a lot of opportunities to potentially close this series out later if they can stay on track and continue to get a lot of points. They are up 12 on the 2nd place team and up more than that on everybody else in the lobby. And so we'll see if they can get even more points as we get into game number 2 of World's Edge with Caustic, the first legend band of the day.
Caustic being taken away is big as well. You'll remember San Jose State Blue trying to take the low ground away from KSU Black and KSU Gold. San Jose State Blue got shut down really quickly by a Caustic, who especially on World's Edge provides a lot of value, being able to shut down aggressive pushes and keep buildings locked down for longer than you might otherwise be able to. With that now missing, a lava siphon zone incoming does become a lot more difficult because lava siphon zones are about controlling a lot of buildings in and around lava siphon. There is a little bit of launch site included, so I'll include launch site as well. If you can sit in a building by launch site, you're going to be doing hunky-dory.
And look at who's at launch site. None other than KSU Gold, the team who won game number 1, getting an even better pull in game number 2. It could be scripted. Who knows? They've won a lot of these, so maybe they are paying people off behind the scenes. So can't say whether or not. However,
we can't actually allege that.
Okay.
For legal reasons.
For legal reasons, yes, that was a joke. I'm sorry. I appreciate you being the expert here and letting me know what I got too silly. But KSU Gold, actually one of the few teams that's nearby, because all of Dome, Stacks, and Mod, 3 POIs that are very close, basically belong to Bellevue, because everybody else was so scared to draft the POI next to them that they just didn't. And so Bellevue basically has 3 POIs, and so less teams close to this ring than we would think otherwise, specifically towards that south side.
You know, I want to note as well, with those 3 POIs being empty, it's a good thing for Kennesaw State Gold, if they are, in fact, paying the script writers, because they don't have a ring console right now in launch site, and we'll need to get one from either Tree or Dome. Teams like Southern Miss, not relying so much on the ring consoles, they've already got that information from Lava Fisher. They're just scooting straight on down and picking off teams that are ill-prepared.
As this landslide squad of Western Outlaws is going to recognize that the zone is going to Lava Siphon. They may not recognize that Southern Miss is so close to them, though, and they'll have to make this rotate fast. They don't even stop a little bit. Oh, they do actually stop to get some upgraded weapons, so maybe they'll end up falling victim to Southern Miss, but neither one of these teams seem to know the other one is here. So it seems like they will pass like ships in the night, and Southern Miss will only have 1 KP up to this point in the game as they look for some ring console information to see what their next move is going to be. And they'll probably mirror what Minnesota State just did.
Honestly, a really nice plan. You're just able to make your way down south through Harvester, get a little bit of extra info here. Hitting POIs really matters when we've got so many teams running Sparrow and even a few running Crypto, because survey beacons are the meta. You have to be hitting one with how abundant they are and how in meta our recon legends are. That's where you got to be going, because it's free information that, or essentially free information, just makes your life so much easier. Fisher Esports, maybe not interested in making their own lives easier, but those of other squads harder are once again up against UC San Diego Gold. These two teams mirroring each other out of Skyhook. Got slammed against each other to the demise of UCSD last game, and Fisher seemed to want to roll those dice again.
I mean, you're not rocking Lifeline Maggie to go pick out the best spot in zone you can find, so a lot of dice will be rolled this game by Fisher. Sort of weighted in their favor, because they are a very strong fighting team, but I do think the point still stands that we've been making kind of already a decent amount through game number 1, that a lot of these teams that love to fight on the edge are going to meet a lot of other teams that are very good at it. A lot more than usual in this match point finals. And so a lot of them you'll start to see that maybe they're just better off going towards the ring, such as Bellevue making their way towards ring already, picking out a nice little spot in Lava Siphon that they can play for the end game in. And yes, they're going to get aggressive and try and show presence as much as physically possible to try and farm those shields up. But the point still stands that they are trying to play to a very good spot in ring a lot earlier on than you might think.
San Jose State Blue, I think, had a similar idea, but it is really difficult to hold a lot of space when you're shooting up against Vatari like that. Nkosu does get the chance to back away to the rest of the squad. And SJSU Blue, I mean, they got first pick in Lava Siphon of where they wanted to play for the end game, and I don't think they've chosen poorly. It's difficult to in Siphon. Illini Orange, however, are playing a very different game and are one of the squads, like you talked about, we're sitting around the edge wanting to pick fights, this time up against Southeastern Blue.
And Southeastern Blue don't seem like a team that planned to do this. Based on the composition is, Vortex tried to pop the Valkyrie, got shot off of it. Now Zuemo's taking up a spot above them. Illini Orange are much more excited to take this fight than the team on the other end of it. And Southeastern Blue's initial attempt at trying to get away isn't going to do anything. Parksa takes a lot of damage early. Soma burns a lot of shots as well, and he'll go down. Even though they were so ready for this fight, they come into it and instantly look out of sync, ill-prepared, and Soma goes down. Parksa also losing almost all of his health. He'll have to pop some small heals to try and get away, but Southeastern Blue just hoping, seemingly, that that was enough to push Illini away and try and show them that this is not a fight you want to contend with as much as you think you do. With Parksa and Zuemo just barely skirting around the corner, now Southeastern Blue have turned the fight on its head, and it's something they suddenly really want to go for.
Bellevue have taken down Texas A&M Maroon. Southeastern Blue still on the front foot. May yet be another squad to fall. We'll see what this looks like as Arez will make that a little further from a spooky reality that we're facing up against. Fisher took down UC Irvine in the meantime, and Illini Orange, for all that They have time. May even be able to stick this reset. It's a real difficult one, and I gotta say, I appreciate we gave up on it because Southeastern Blue are certainly not giving up the chase. Southern Miss taken down as well. What a team to fall early on.
Yeah, that's such a strong roster. The first place in semifinal B yesterday. Southeastern Blue, two teams, or Southeastern Blue and Illinois, two teams that came from semifinal B yesterday as well. Probably very excited to see Southern Miss go down, as it's a team they never want to contend with after how much damage Southern Miss did yesterday. Illinois Orange are going to sneak away.
Note about the pathing. Illinois Orange are running from Southeastern Blue. This we know. What neither team knows is that Fisher Esports are hitting a survey beacon in No Name and rotating into Geyser right now. Southeastern Blue and Illinois Orange have no idea that the team that dropped the most points and the most kills in yesterday's semifinal lobby are coming for both of them.
And Zuemo, the first one that'll probably get caught, is Dom2 Cracked, waiting for that rat to walk through Geyser, and that's exactly what he'll find. Almost a crack, but certainly kill eventually found. As the Wraith Q does get popped, it looks like the Zuemo still has hopes of getting away through the Geyser, but those hopes will quickly be dashed as Fisher get another kill on the board to add to the tally they already had, and now it's time for the 3v3 against Southeastern Blue, a team that I don't really think wanted to fight this much.
Now, Fisher Esports have a literal uphill battle, and that's worth noting, especially when we can tell that it doesn't bother them at all. Dom2 Cracked taking the off angle here. The rest of Fisher Esports on a flank, and Dom2 Cracked just completely, I would say, uncaring of the fact that he is swinging into three people, now has the backup of Serial Cat, who has closed the gap with the Mad Maggie as well. A lot of disruption and a lot of firepower can come out of Serial Cat, and Fisher Esports, they have baited the hook and they are closing in.
Yeah, you could tell for a second it looked like Southeastern might try to isolate that fight onto the lone Maggie. They're going to find this first kill, Fisher, and they will not be stopped from there. Southeastern lose another one in Avery, and Vortex barely has any health left on him. He'll have to try and hop to the roof and hope and pray that he's able to somehow sneak away. Damage dealt to Dom2 Crack, but it's not going to be enough. And more KP farmed by Fisher, as Southeastern Blue will be the final team to go down in Game 2 without getting a placement point.
In Game 2 alone, Fisher Esports have already collected 7 points. That is more than most of our lobby got in Game 1, as Kennesaw State Black, our second place team from Game 1, fall this early. There is blood in the water, and Fisher Esports are coming for it. They have already done so well to accrue momentum, and if they can transfer that into an already very crowded Lava Siphon, they could very quickly be catching up to some of our first place teams. Kennesaw State Gold, the big question in this game. How will they do operating out of the south?
Still in a pretty good spot should this ring start to pull a little deeper into the south, but plenty other teams behind them. Ottawa Braves and Cumberland University are at the deepest south parts of the ring. None of those three teams, though, will be enclosed in this next ring, as they all need to move at least a little bit, with the ring pulling up to the south side, or to the north side of Lava Siphon, and then pulling south within that. So it started to ping pong just a little bit. It lands somewhat close to San Jose State Blue as well as University of Utah, but there are no spots that are obviously easily playable within that final ring. Even the one building that's fully in, the RV, or forklift, whatever you want to call it, not necessarily great to play, though it looks like KSU Gold are going to go for it anyways.
And they've definitely identified at KSU Gold that playing for the center of Lava Siphon is the better move here. We're seeing a couple of teams rotate, notably not Ottawa Braves, who are one of the few squads that have the early ring information on where this is going. See what Ottawa Braves end up doing, but everyone else is fighting for spots just in Lava Siphon generally.
And Habaneros is not going to be able to fight for long. All of UCSD are going to go down, but they managed to get a knock on a Jukesy. So they might at least be able to drop the signature cope of, well, at least they died for it. But it doesn't seem like Bellevue will be dying for it. They will get to defend their land and get their third back up as well. as this building, the northernmost lava siphon of the 3 lava siphon buildings sort of over lava, will be theirs for quite some time. As Ottawa Braves, the smoke and the Valkyrie.
So they know where the next ring is. They're the only squad in this game that knows where the ring is, and check out that red ping. They know exactly what they want to play. Are they actually going to stick this? Bellevue right below them. It's unoccupied, and they know it, and we are going for what?
It's a spot that it looks like a Watson team already had plans to hold. The bang smokes are good to break those fences, though, and it's Cumberland who are in this middle building that are getting sunned by a nade. It's Viking Cap with the kill. It's Nakosa with another one, and it's Slasher left on less than 10 health, running for the hills. San Jose State Blue already able to do some big damage onto the landing squad just below them, and Cumberland now forced back, somehow still not dead, but definitely not inside of Siphon.
And while I was sitting here slack-jawed at the rotation out of Ottawa, we've eliminated KSU Gold silently in the south end of this ring. That is a big change in the lobby. And University of Utah facing off against Fisher Esports, who will, if they win this fight, rather when they win this fight, be the only team remaining on the low ground. That's a very scary prospect. Fisher are setting themselves up for a fantastic game if they can just take out that last pesky member of University of Utah.
Yeah, this is where getting so many kills ends up working really well to play for an endgame, because you killed so many people that their spot isn't playable anymore. It's great shots for Juxi. And Vaudry gets the finish on a Spicy Boy. That's from UT Orange, a team that is very much not inside of this next ring. And so Bellevue, recognizing that even their spot isn't in for the next ring, it's time to try and do something about it and look behind you to clear your edge as much as possible. Minnesota State Mavericks will be cleared off of the edge by Fisher College, another team that is continuing to find kills. 14 kills up to this point in the game, and like you pointed out, a great spot for the upcoming 4th ring.
I mean, it's an insane game for Fisher, and the squad that I really see being able to contest that right now is Bellevue. Fisher have eliminated 4 teams so far, and Bellevue have eliminated 2 and a bit. They've done quite well so far. They've got great firepower. They've got a corner of the zone. Bellevue could do this. I mean, Guelph could do this for all I know. But in terms of people who you're stacking them up against Fisher.
As Ottawa Braves still in this position, they ended up picking out a pretty good spot and somehow not dying for it on that Valkyrie ult. Now there's a team trying to come for their position from behind. Ottawa recognizing that they need to make a play out ahead of them as Logan Reed makes the call. Try and break that Watson fence, but first you still need to clear the teams behind you, and it looks like Guelph opting to play for the low ground instead. The spot they're in now isn't going to be playable for the future, and there's already seemingly a team right below the bridge as Swivel and them are going to be right across the way behind a Newcastle wall. Very dangerous. Slasher also trying to rat over here. He's not going to be long for the world, but the cat wall from Guelph is going to have to do something as Augusta forced away from their spot.
Cumberland unfortunately eliminated, but CSU Fullerton, they've got another chance at glory. Fumbled the high ground last game, got crept up on by Southern Miss. Might get crept up on one more time. I know Fisher are looking at CSU Fullerton right now, and if the kill feed tells me anything, it's that they found CSU Fullerton.
Augusta going to be taking down a mix of players to take him down as well, as CSU Fullerton going down to Fisher, but Fisher also dying in the process. We said they were going to have a great spot for the end game, but they don't have a third anymore. And here comes Bellevue, like you said, that can easily come through to try and sweep them off the board. Serial Cat not quite able to stay standing for too long, as he's losing a lot of HP and can't quite heal that back because they're getting pushed by a completely different team. Dom and Serial Cat are going to be stuck between a rock and a hard place, and now Texas Orange moving up to play off of that rock.
Do Texas Orange know this is a duo? Are they going to go for it? They're not even going to have time. Fisher stick the res instantly. So Texas Orange get a lot of space. Bellevue can encroach on Fisher. Can one of these two squads, can both of them together shut down Fisher, who have been on a rampage so far? Right now, Spicy Boy almost fumbles that whole thing for Texas Orange, who managed to hold on to a little bit of the ring. Fisher miraculously reset. Have Bellevue sharing their space right next door. It is Fisher and Bellevue, the two titans of this lobby so far.
Bellevue looking down on Fisher. That's a good advantage, but those Maggie Qs are going to make it really awkward. Sloth went for the TP up on them, and the whole team's going to die on this hill. As they try to drop back down, it's not looking likely they'll get away with their lives. Only Slothulus, the one to get finished off. But it looks like UT Orange could probably make that play right after, but they're actually busy dealing with San Jose State Blue. That's a team they'll deal with well, though. And now they can look towards Fisher's side, maybe finish the duo that they still may not be aware of actually being a duo. 5 squads with all of them full except for Fisher, and a lot of teams still alive to contest Bellevue for this high ground like Western Outlaw.
Western Outlaws, they're going to be looking down on Texas Orange, a team that survived quite a bit. Hold the space that Fisher previously did. Texas Orange are playing very small right now, though, and that's letting squads like Bellevue take up a lot of space. Currently being wrapped on by Ottawa Braves. This could change everything. Fisher have the opportunity to third-party this. Bellevue are not making this easy for anyone. Ottawa Braves are forced to back off again, and Bellevue have barely taken any damage.
3 teams up on the height, and all of them in somewhat awkward spots. Western Outlaws, the ones that are the most comfortable. They could try to force the other 2 teams on the height to fight each other and then play to take it fully for themselves, and it looks like this might be happening. Ottawa Braves are in arguably the worst spot of any of these teams up on the high ground. They still need to make a play, and the Bangle, the smokes can only do so much for you, but Bellevue also getting heavily pressured. Such well done playing from Western Outlaws to put so much pressure on these other 2 teams up on the height, and Fisher also going to farm a lot of damage off of this.
It's really good for Fisher, honestly. They've got one of the spots where they need to move the least. Bellevue have to dip down to them with Ottawa Braves on their back, and it's going to be a knockdown brawl between Fisher and Bellevue as both squads fight to survive. Bellevue have a huge advantage. They haven't got a knock just yet.
The Lifeline Halo is going to make it easy for Dom2Crack to stay alive, but it can only be so easy when you're getting ran down by 3 of the best players in Collegiate, but they're still going to hold off.
No way!
They're still holding off! And somehow they end up getting a top 4. Dom2Crack goes down though, but Serial Cat's still fighting, and he wants to go for the res on his teammate as well. Western Outlaws are eliminated from the height, and Texas Orange want to try and hit this, but that means that Ottawa Braves, much like in Game 1, the team benefiting from everybody killing each other on the low ground.
Fisher are fully reset. I mean, it is a duo. We just saw a duo take down Bellevue. Ottawa Braves have spotted this out. Dom2Crack and Serial Cat, they're going to eat a few nades, but it's honestly not that bad. And it's up to Ottawa Braves to decide who they want to send, the duo or the team that they just knocked 2 of. That is 1 member of Texas Orange left. Make it nothing. And Ottawa Braves have only 1 team in their sights from the high ground. This should be an Ottawa Brave win.
And now that they've knocked down Serial Cat, it's all but guaranteed. Dom2Crack is going to try his best to get his teammate back up, but there's nothing you can do, because from the height, Ottawa Braves are inevitable. And they come through to win the 2nd game of the day.
I should not have doubted you, Ottawa. I should not have doubted you. That rotate looked crazy, but they made it work. A lot of other squads getting caught with teams on their back. And I think that's the biggest thing, is that Ottawa Braves were the final team that wasn't cleared off of anyone's back. They sat behind Bellevue, pressured them down onto the low ground, and they were unkillable in this corner. Bellevue wasn't able to push forward onto them. Ottawa Braves, they had a little bit of priority on the high ground, and they really made it work for them. High ground control turns into an end game win, and now you've got Ottawa Braves making their push for match point.
And they have already started that push, but a lot of other teams getting that push going. And when we come back from the break, we're going to see who can continue that push towards winning our match point final. Nobody too close to that threshold yet, but that just means even greater odds of getting more and more games. You won't want to miss a single one of them. So make sure that you come back in just a few.
Diamonds in my teeth, I got a lot of shine. Running up the number, that's a lot of crime. Try to take it from me, must be out your mind. shot and I'm already grinning. You know that I'm one up on one that you're sending. You know you've been cutting, you know I'm ascending. I'm one up, I'm winning. I'm one up, I'm winning. Go take a look independent. I'm making my money like it's never ending. I took all my losses, I roll with the bosses. I know where they cost and I'm so independent. Go take a look independent. I'm making my money like it's never ending. I took all my losses, I roll with the bosses. I know where they cost and I'm so independent. I'm one up, I'm winning. I'm one up, I'm winning. Diamonds in my teeth, I got a lot of shine. Running up the number, that's a lot of crime. Try to take it from me, must be out your mind. Lot of signs, smoky in the air, that's a lot.
I got a lot of shine. I just wanna know who with the dollar sign. Try and take it from me. Take it from me.
2 games through our match point final, and we're yet to really see a team take the lead in a big way. We've had a couple of big games, a couple of teams to get those big games, but we're not really at the point where it feels like one team's running away with it, which I would say is just about the best way that we could start this match point final for stage 1 of season 4.
I'd agree. This is ideally how you want to start any match point series, is with a couple of teams handing off the lead. There are worlds where we see squads snowball, and that's exciting in a different way, because then you've got teams that are on match point praying that they can close it out. Fisher Esports could be our first team to hit match point if they can continue what they were able to do in Game 2, because Game 2 was fantastic from them. They got 19 kills in our second game, killing almost a third of all players in the lobby. Fisher Esports still sit 26 points shy of match point eligibility. Kennesaw State Gold right behind them at 28 points, and Ottawa Braves following that up. Still anybody's game as we race towards match point. And a quick reminder that even if somebody hits it early, we are playing a minimum of 5 games today, so even if somebody wins, we'll be sorting out the standings after that.
Yeah, so even if it's like somehow, let's say Fisher gets to match point after this game, which would be crazy, but they could do it.
Crazy.
Yeah, it would be. And then they won Game 4. Doesn't matter. It's just we're ignoring it. It's not even like it's like, oh, we play the 5th game anyways. They didn't win match point format, and the match point format continues as was normal. So we might still see a lot of action yet to come, as a 19 kill game for Fisher Esports puts them atop the leaderboard. And I would even say not a very slow start for a lot of teams. It's really UC Irvine and UCSD Gold that have had pretty rough starts to the day. Other than that, though, everybody's got at least, one game where they've gotten multiple points on the board, which is already telling of a very competitive lobby. It's in lobbies like this where you might expect to see maybe 4 or 5 teams on 1 or 0 points, maybe 2. At this point, we only have 2 that are 2 points or below. And that's honestly, like I said, speaking to a lobby that I feel like everybody stands a solid chance in.
I mean, let's give a little bit of love as well to one of those teams, UC Irvine, who have unfortunately yet to collect a kill today, but their partners, Guelph Griffins, who currently sit in in 9th place with 13 points. Those two squads, the only non-premier teams coming out of contenders this season to have made it all the way to the finals. That in
Wow.
itself is an accomplishment. UC Irvine still with plenty of time to get some points on the board and make their way up closer to top 10. But for Guelph especially, I mean, you have got to be impressed by what they were able to do yesterday and what they are doing today as a team that is not even in the same division as the 18 other teams in the lobby.
And you got to be impressed by what Future Streams is doing on Guelph. You look at the top damage across the whole lobby so far. It's not someone on Fisher. It's not someone on Bellevue. It's Future Streams. His team is in 9th. They have gotten 11th and 7th, and he's got 4.3k damage already. It is a Pro League player taking care of business in the way you would expect him to do. And the whole squad has come together to help out quite a bunch. Like you were talking about, very impressive that we would see them find so much success despite coming out of contenders. But now they're going to have to come out of their POI on E-District and get ready to go for game number 3, because we are ready to go for our third match of the day.
Now on E-District, things could get a little bit interesting. I do want to note that we've got a Valkyrie ban moving into our third game. So no Caustic, no Valkyrie. No Caustic is really going to be felt on E-District. No Valkyrie going to be felt a lot more on Stormpoint. And that is probably going to be the biggest shift between the Stormpoint maps that we saw yesterday and today, because not having access to the mobility, the Skyward Dive out of Valkyrie, makes you really reliant on evac towers, and even those are only half as good, especially when it comes to getting you a spot in zone. For Recon Legends, you're forced to, make use of things like the Sparrow, some teams going with the Seer as well, depending on how late we are into the game. Some teams even running with the Crypto, but without the ability to insta-rotate off of those scans, you've got to get creative with Tridents, or I'm going to say on E-District with Alter TPs, if you can even call those instant rotates.
Can be very awkward. Unfortunately, we were not as ready as I thought we were. I saw on my end that we were getting into the lobby, but we needed a restart, and sadly, we have been in progress. So I'm going to let you guys take some time off. We're going to throw it to a break, and when we get back, we will actually come back this time with game number 3 and beyond on E-District.
We're back as the Octane Collegiate Playoffs continue. This is game 3 as we return to E-District. Before the break, Happy, you and I were talking about what E-District would mean to teams, especially with the bans of Caustic and Valkyrie making it more difficult to rotate and to hold buildings on a map where those things are really, really critical, especially the ability to hold buildings.
I'll tell you what, I feel like, I know we haven't seen a ton of Newcastle in these lobbies. You and I were talking about a little bit yesterday where it can be a little bit of a tough legend to play, like mechanically, so some of the collegiate players may not be super prepared to pick it up as they have less overall hours on the game than people who play comp all the time. But I'm expecting to see some more Newcastle and definitely some more Rampart to make a lot of these buildings a little bit more playable. Even like a Watson, for example, we'll probably see at least 1, if not 2 controllers banned after these next 2 games coming up because of the wealth of buildings you have to play and how difficult they can be to hold without actually bringing some utility on board. But like you said, no Valk and no Caustic making it to the map at all is going to get very interesting. And an interesting ring pull, or not necessarily interesting because it's unexpected. City Hall ring pulls are one of the most common ring pulls on E-District, but interesting because, I would say less buildings in this ring, depending on where it can pull, than in many other rings for E-District. So some of those teams who are very prepared to try and pick a building early on and play it, you're going to have to get there soon because there are not a ton that you can do that with.
My lawyer has advised me not to say this, but I'm going to phrase it as a question. Is Kennesaw State Gold paying off the Apex Legends servers? That's the question that this game will answer, which will keep me from legally implicating myself. As it is, it looks real good for Kennesaw State Gold. Illinois Orange, a little bit tougher as they are up against UC Irvine down on the south end by Shipyard Arcade.
Poor UC Irvine have not had a great start to the day. They have gotten 19th and then 20th, and now they're getting walked at by Illinois Orange before they can even really leave their POI. UCI came into this with a pretty low draft pick in terms of their priority, and Shipyard, a POI they were barely even able to get on E-District with their second round pick. But now it's a POI that UIUC looks to take away from them as they advance very quickly on a Sparrow Horizon Alter team composition. Not the kind of comp you want to fight if you weren't fully ready for it. Zwemo, though, getting very caught off guard. He's actually going to be the first loss in this fight. Illinois Orange needs to find a response, and those Mozam shots certainly aren't enough to do the trick. Parks is left last alive, and now the Alter TP needs to be taken. We'll see if UCI can get a finish onto any of these players left for Illinois Orange. It looks like Zwemo will be saved. Parksa manages to get it off, but they actually take the TP after him. And now they're going to run him down and get the full squad wipe. UCI, the only team that came into this game without any points, take care of the bullies that tried to run up on their POI.
That was an awesome fight by UCI. Really liked the moves out of Lefter to make sure that the first kill got secured for them. And with a fast enough fight, the Shipyard Arcade becomes safe once more. Southern Miss, they are looking a little bit more towards how they're going to rotate into the zone safely. Ottawa Braves, Minnesota State Mavericks, the other ones posturing towards each other on the southwestern side of the map. But a lot of teams comfortable moving into City Hall already. Noticing Guelph Griffins and Southeastern Blue maybe up towards the top side, but there's some fights brewing. Most people want to play zone.
General theme we've seen so far today, not a ton of action on the edge. There have been a couple teams who really love to commit to that, though, like Fisher Esports, as they're going to continue to run around the edge. But look, not a single team, even in the same country as them. Everybody else is on a different continent. Bellevue, another one of the teams that loves to get aggressive, though they're actually just going to do it in the middle of zone. They find their first KP of the game, and now Vaudry looking to run up on some more KP. That's Kennesaw State Black. We're trying to catch him off in the middle of the street. Smoke is going to help Vaude get a little bit further away, but he's running away from his teammate Jukesy. So Bellevue could very easily get caught split apart.
Still having Rampart in the game. Probably the only thing that's making these buildings playable, especially for Kennesaw State Black, who, like you talk about, not seem to favor the Newcastle. Southeastern Blue, more comfortable running this, but moving out of the north side of the ring, they're really relying on Newcastle to make late-game spots playable as opposed to lock down mid-game areas and buildings. It's about making the unplayable possible for Southeastern Blue.
Really enough, with where Ring 2 is, I have this gut feeling that it's going to be a pullback. I kind of like where Augusta's set up. I feel like Bellevue and KSU Black are both in decent spots. I don't feel like the teams towards the northern end of this ring are fully going to get what they want, because normally when you see not that much of the ring is in towards the north side of the bridge, it tends to be a pullback, at least towards the center of City Hall, if not towards the fully south end of where this Ring 2 is, near where Augusta and Bellevue might be. So I have the gut feeling that it'll end up being a pull towards the south end, and I would be really happy if I was one of these teams coming in a little later from this south side, that there are still a lot of spots open in that position.
Texas A&M not moving from the south, instead slaying in the north. They're up against Guelph early on, the first knock being theirs, and the second and the third. Well, they go down like a ton of bricks, and Texas A&M still playing in the red. Now should have attracted a little bit of attention. See if they're able to rotate into the ring. Meanwhile, you just got squads poking at each other dead center. Zone, like you talked about, City Hall will become a bloodbath eventually. It's up to those teams with third ring information to determine where this goes. If you see somebody using an evac tower to get into a spot late game, a lot of other squads are going to follow.
Already the first couple of squads able to get into the ring. KSU Gold there. UT Orange are going to, I think, contest Utah towards their building. San Jose State Blue on a different one. Fisher Esports, though, they're moving in towards the west side. They're coming in from Riverside, is what it's labeled as. And they're fighting on Southern Miss, who are actually going to get away. I think there was an Alter TP taken, and Southern Miss going to end up in a very different spot, actually in a fight on the other end, as the other side of their Alter
Somehow
TP
worse.
still had another team there, but they're not dying for it. All of them so low, but why Kai, the first one to go down on UT Orange. So now Southern Miss going to force an Alter TP out of another team, and they're going to get the finish locking down some KP to start things off. A sketchy situation followed by yet another sketchy situation somehow turns into a KP for Southern Miss.
Fisher Esports still right on this, though. They are right behind Southern Miss. A couple of other squads starting to fly in off towards the left, or rather right side of their screens. Fisher Esports watch Southeastern Blue, who have advanced ring information, move in towards the next zone and continue pressuring Southern Miss, who now lie below them.
Southern Miss able to take that second Alter TP away. Fisher Esports never giving up on this fight. No matter where Southern Miss is on the map, we will find you and we will fight you, as Mangsta completely missed, tucked inside of the storefront. And I don't know if he'll come back later to try and rat. It looks like he will, but it looks like that maybe wasn't the right play because he's already been taken down by Serial Cat. Didn't even get a knock for his trouble. And the finish will eventually come through. KP locked down continually for Fisher Esports, and after a slightly rough game 1, they bounced back game 2, and they seem to be very much back on track fully coming into E-District.
Decent spot in the end game, one that Minnesota State Mavericks will not live to see. Moving tighter into City Hall shouldn't actually take that many teams down. The squads that we're seeing fall now are mostly teams that are not prepared for the aggression of their close neighbors. It's difficult to pull off fights like this in close quarters, but for a lot of the teams that have made it to this level of collegiate play here in the playoffs in the final stage, it's the ability to take quick fights that shouldn't otherwise be possible that has separated them from the squads that did not make the cut.
So I was wrong about my presumption with that ring. It continues to pull towards the more northern side of this one, with a lot of teams very eagerly contesting this northern side, and Fisher about to run up on them. Yupi takes a lot of damage, and Fisher Esports are looking to clear UCSD completely off the map. Nice one clip for Slothules, and he'll shut down San Diego Gold, making them the 17th place team on the game. But there's another squad nearby. It's Tamu Maroon, who's going to get a knock on his Slothules and start to advance on this. Bocek in hand, isn't quite going to find any more damage as the reset has come through for Fisher, and Tamu Maroon don't seem like they're too confident about their ability to contest this position anymore. Instead, it looks like they're going to try and back out to play towards the river, as they aren't given the opportunity at a kill that they would like to get.
Still a pretty good spot for Tamu Maroon. Anything surrounding this bridge actually feels quite good into the late game if the zone continues to go as it has been.
Whoa.
Up towards the north. But as you've predicted, those awkward pulls in City Hall can really catch a lot of teams with their pants around their ankles, and it's going to do that to every team in the north. Be it Tamu, be it Fisher, be it Kennesaw. Won't be UCI, but as to whether UCI makes it is a whole different set of trials.
I wasn't wrong just early, as the ring 3 pull is going to be awkward. UCI could have a good spot to find when they're eventually able to get in, because they're going to have to come through that south side, but they're going to have to find some KP to do that. But now that they've finally gotten points on the board, the confidence is at an all-day high for them, even taking on Cumberland in this 3 versus 3. It never really was, and Cumberland will never let it be, as they choose to run away and just try to find a spot in ring. They've already gotten themselves to full purples. Not really too much more you could get off of fighting consistently on the edge, other than maybe another KP or two, but it's not worth giving up your entire game over.
What are we getting here? Rush ASU. Could it be a Kraber? It is not a Kraber.
No.
I mean, Carr really getting done dirty there as the gold Volt gets picked up instead. I weep for the car.
Poor thing got put in the care package. It's the resident, this one, of the care package.
Yeah.
There's got to be one. Ken Fry in the right hand. So Kennesaw State looking to start to do some damage towards the middle building of City Hall. Bellevue, the ones in this position, and not often that you see Bellevue put on this bad of a back foot behind a Newcastle wall that isn't even theirs. They're rocking the rampart instead, and they'll set up some of their own walls, as well as get Muffins ready behind the Sheila to try and see who he can find some early damage on. It's KSU putting them under heavy pressure. Bellevue seemingly unfazed. They're content to sit here because KSU can't really do a ton about this other than start to shoot down that Newcastle wall. That's going to take a hefty amount of shots to do anything about, as Wrecked Emporium loses a lot of HP. Bottery seems to want to go after that, but he and Muffins both very low on health. It's Viking Cap as the third party to get the knockdown, the first knockdown out of a 3v3 he wasn't even involved in.
Fisher have taken out Southern Miss. SJSU have taken out Texas Orange. Kennesaw State Gold. We'll see if they take out at this point. Right now, an escape actually still seems possible for them. If a recovery, maybe not so much. It is the teams around the edge that are mostly searching for kills, and that puts Ottawa Braves in an awkward position. They're right on the edge of a very desirable spot in the zone, and it's just rampart walls between them and every squad that sure would like their position. Bellevue, one of those teams, but not quite close enough to contest. It's going to have to walk through Kennesaw State, UC Irvine, and likely Fisher in order to get there.
Bellevue starting to walk up on UCI, quickly realizing this spot is not for sale. Dude Man has no plans of letting you have it. UCI eventually going to have to move from this spot because they are very much on the edge of Ring, and Ring is not close to them for the fourth pull. The UCI now, they've gotten full purples, they've gotten some KP on the board, and like I said, they've got a lot of confidence that they might not have had after World's Edge. They're going to try and man the edge themselves and see what they can make of it. With only 13 teams alive, not a ton of them are in this next ring because there aren't really a lot of spots to play in, at least not early. The earlier you take a lot of these spots, just the easier it is for everybody to kill you for playing it.
We did talk about the value of playing the bridge earlier as well. That's still true for this zone. Bellevue University may not have access to it, but we saw Kennesaw State Black sitting up there earlier, and I got a lot of questions about how Kennesaw State Black, a team who has performed very well in our earlier games, may be able to make the bridge position work for them. Bellevue, meanwhile, they're farming up teams that are on the bottom, and they got to make the most of their reputation for slaying, something that Juxi is certainly doing.
And Nkosu, good as he was yesterday, not able to come into today any better, at least not into this fight. They're going to be middle of the pack after this game in terms of the overall scoreboard as they finish this game placed in the middle of the pack at 12th. Southeastern Blue with the perfect composition to play this exact position as they've got the Rampart Newcastle combination that makes it so much easier to play a lot of spots on E District, with Fisher trying to contest for the bridge. We talked about how good it is to play this bridge, and they seem to be the ones who ended up taking it. I don't know if there's even another team across the way to meet them. It looks like Utah are the other team that's up on that height, but for now, Fisher not really worried about Utah. They're trying to look to their left and right and see what KP they can pick up, because boy, do they love getting KP on the board. 14 again in Game 3.
It looks like Kennesaw State Black that previously held the bridge have just been picked apart by a smorgasbord of squads. Kennesaw State do still have at least one player left, their Crypto, which actually could get you a decent spot in the end game. It is invisibility, but it does mean that Fisher have the power position, and you know Fisher are going to abuse the power position.
Ottawa Braves in a very now as well, as this ring continues to pull to them. A ring pull that I'm not super familiar with seeing before, as these last two rings have continued to pull very deep towards the southwest end of what was still available, with Fisher continuing to push that power position like you talked about, though they do lose one down to outside the building. Halo has to be burned for that to facilitate the lifeline res, but they're still dancing inside the building, and they've got all but one found on Western Outlaws, and eventually that last will be found. But here comes Utah, ready for the third party and ready to try and get some more KP. They get one. The altered CP can't be taken yet because Dom is going to go down right after that as well. He'll get finished off. I don't think they finished off the other member, so Serial Cat could possibly save his teammate, but for now, Utah control this side of the ring.
Kennesaw State Black do get taken down, found by the duo that remains of Fisher Esports, who, if I may remind you, are still on top of the bridge. University of Utah would like to push up, but they lose one when trying to gain a little bit of verticality, much like Augusta. We're trapped inside a train cart with no good way out. That is a Sheila. That is likely a dead squad. Augusta, goodbye. It's time for UC Irvine to shine.
UC Irvine just across the way from Ottawa in a spot that is really good. How are they able to rotate here so late? University of Utah go down next, though, as it's Slothiel is to take them down. Fisher are somehow still standing in this late of a position, though Sloth is going to be down. It's all on Serial Cat, and he's going to try and 1v3. Good damage with the nade, but it's not nearly enough to save his life. It'll be a 6th place for Fisher, and I don't quite think they got to 60 points. Even if they did, Game 4 is not a match point eligible game, but I still don't think Fisher are going to be a match point eligible squad going forward.
We've got time. We've got time.
Yeah,
it's
plenty.
about which of these teams is going to get that little bit closer. Ottawa Braves have done very well.
Oh, no.
But unfortunately, a little bit of a mistimed altar port has almost cost them a good spot and quite a bit of safety. Ottawa Braves, all they have to do is hold on to this high ground for now. Plenty of other teams are going to have to come to them. Bellevue, Kennesaw State, Southeastern Blue, all having to move in. Whereas, as you mentioned, Ottawa Braves and UC Irvine that share this building, this tiny bit of verticality and high ground, does have 2 squads on it.
Yeah, thanks to the spot that Ottawa Braves is in, it's going to be tough for anybody else to contest them. UC Irvine, the only ones in even another decent spot, as they'll have the ability to take free range, take as many shots as they want onto the other teams that are rotating in, with misplays and KSU Gold trying their best to get a high placement here, but Bellevue likely going to have to isolate it 3 versus 3 on to the next. Their other option is to sprint forward out into the open, and this is where UCI can really start to do some damage, as Kennesaw State Gold is fully finished off by Bellevue. Here goes Bellevue looking for more. They're going to find Southeastern as well. A finish on a janky. Vortex is alone for his team, as the finish is about to come through under the Newcastle as well, and Vortex just around the corner, likely to soon be finished off. It's top 3 for the remaining teams.
That is some pretty illegal movement out of Bellevue University. Surviving from there is wild. And now it leaves Bellevue as the only team on the outside looking at this inevitable clash between UC Irvine and Ottawa Braves. If Bellevue avoid getting knocked, they could very easily come out the winners of this game.
UC Irvine are taking so much damage to nades as well. They could easily find a KP or 2. Actually start that fight between those last 2 teams by knocking so many of them that the other one just decides it's too easy a 2nd place. There's no reason to take the risk. And Bellevue are just going to continue to wait as Ottawa actually waiting their turn as well. There has been time allotted to UCI to maybe get a res on if they still had their Newcastle up. But for now, the Newcastle walls are going to go down, and they couldn't quite get left or back. They never even had a Newcastle. No one to get reses off, and as a result, nothing for Psycho to do but accept his 3rd place. It's top 2 for Ottawa Braves and Bellevue University. But who's going to take first? Still yet to be determined, with Bellevue having me smoke.
Nice smoke.
With the shots through them are nice for Vatari, but Juxi, the first one to go down. In comes a slam, but Bellevue need a lot more than that to try and get back into the game. Muffin's got 1 though, and Vatari got a 2nd. He's got the Spitfire Havoc combo, and an M&K player in this close range with these 2 guns is not to be messed with. Vatari locks it down in the 3rd, and Bellevue finally alive in our match point set today.
That was a crazy clutch, even at the end. I mean, I know we talked about Bellevue being able to win the game, but converting off that was a very different story. I did not see a team that was easily going to be pushed in that end game. UC Irvine, yes, their spot may have been a little bit more tenuous, and unfortunately, they had to fight a war on 2 fronts, but we saw a very, very clear game plan out of the Ottawa Braves, and they almost won that from playing behind 2 rampart walls with a little bit of hope. The fact that they almost clinch it is almost as good as a win for me, because Ottawa Braves played a great game. They played great zone. They got good KP, and they almost find the win against Bellevue. At this point, it is just about accruing that little bit of momentum towards match point. And Ottawa Braves have done that in a way that Bellevue has mirrored, if not significantly surpassed, because Bellevue did get a lot of kills.
Yeah, we'll see if it was enough to pass Ottawa in the standings after Ottawa Braves' game number 2 win, but coming into game number 3, at least able to get a 2nd place. We can take a look and see if Bellevue were able to get just above them. Fisher, I think, still take up first, and they will. It's 57 points for Fisher Esports. Bellevue were able to pass Ottawa Braves, getting 45 off the back of their 16 kill win in game number 3. They start off ED with a bang. But like you said, I think Ottawa Braves really proving a lot there, that once they hit match point, they are a team who can easily navigate their way to a top 3. A lot of potential to get some wins with that. As we've seen 2 games in a row, more than anybody else in the lobby, that they've already been able to sneak it out with a first and a second. They have the most top 3s of anybody today. They're the first one to get multiple, which I think, like you talked about, kind of puts a statistic behind your point of Ottawa Braves are doing the most convincing gameplay in terms of if you want to win a match point, they seem like they could be the odds-on favorite right now. You just got to get there. Still 21 points off, but still plenty of time if Fisher continue to not be able to find wins and they just farm the kills instead.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely agree with what you're talking about. Top 3s are such a huge indicator of who's able to find wins on match point days. There are always banners held for teams like Fisher, for teams like Bellevue that are able to put up huge kills, but without wins, it simply doesn't matter. So Fisher, we got to keep our eyes on them because only 3 points away from being match point eligible, they have a chance. They have a significant chance. We need to keep in mind that in yesterday's games where they put up 145 points, they only won 1 game out of the 8. And that one better come a lot sooner if Fisher want to close things out on match point.
Even coming into this game, they wouldn't have had the chance to close it out because, like we said, we're guaranteed 5 games today. Until that 5th game starts on Storm Point, nobody can win match point finals, even if you had gotten to the 60-point threshold and then won yet another game. Now, all this means for Fisher is that if you get 3 points or more this game, you will have guaranteed that you will be able to win match point from the moment that you could have won match point. From the very start, you were going to be on match point finals, or you're going to be a match point eligible, excuse me, as they will have plenty of time to work with into the future. And given how well they've played today, even their worst game, they got 6 kills. So they look pretty good to hit match point here with a couple other teams below them. But other than that, other than our top 4, nobody has hit 20 points just yet. So I would imagine we're going to start to see a lot more early fighting than usual because a lot of these teams towards the bottom of the scoreboard are starting to get worried that one of these top 4 squads could easily just run away with it before they even get close to sniffing a match point threshold.
Yeah, it's not just a points race for the top of the lobby. It's a points race towards the bottom as well. This determines not just whether you're able to win, but your overall season standing. So as we move on to E District one more time, we'll see what that increased aggression looks like. For Illinois Orange, it's still looking like a very aggressive comp with the Sparrow, Horizon, and Conduit. Early game fighting is what this squad is all about. High mobility, high reset capability, and Illinois Orange, no surprise, are running straight at Augusta.
They're going to start to make the play once again. Illinois Orange ended up getting punished for making the play into Shipyard last time, so instead they decide, out of Old Town, we're going to make the play towards Humbert Labs. And this time around, it seems to be going a lot better as Illinois Orange have already forced them out of their own POI, and Augusta are going to become, you know, something of just a lurker across the lobby, looking to maybe get teammates back up, looking to maybe start to make
A nomadic squad, shall we say?
Yeah, nomads. That's actually exactly what I was looking for. With Fisher Esports towards the settlement, taking a lot of damage, they do get a knock, but then they actually get killed as well. Waikai will end up dying right after, though, and it looks like UT Orange not going to be long for this lobby. Fisher lock in the 3 points they needed. When we get to game 5, Fisher are able to close this game out.
Are violent nomads. Fisher Esports basically just run up the squads on their screen, and it's working. Like you said, locked into match point now for game number 5. Their job is done. I'd like to see them do well this game and continue what they gave us. At the same time, I'd kind of like to see them just run at a squad, drop all their guns, and go boxing, because this is all they needed to get done this game. As it stands, however, every extra point certainly doesn't hurt Fisher, as it keeps their standing safe for the later game. Let's talk about their journey towards the end game, though, because this is looking remarkably similar to what we saw in Game 3.
Yeah, once again goes up towards City Hall. This time around, it looks like it's going a little bit more to the northeast, so I feel like this one could certainly pull towards the front side of Resort. At least it looks more likely, though a lot of Boardwalk is still in as well, so it could be a counterpole to where we saw it last time. A little too early to tell exactly. And Tamu Maroon, no matter where they are in the ring, are still going to look for some kills, even though they're quite literally at a spot that could be the end game. It could end here. They are going to look to run at KSU Gold, try and find some frags early, unfazed by the fact that Misplays already has purple shield. Tamu Maroon are one of those teams that's outside that top 4. As good a team as they are, they've got to get a lot of points on the board, and they've got to get them on the board now, so they know they need to get some kills. Meanwhile, BU, Bellevue, one of those teams that is in that top 4, already having made very good progress, and to make even more progress towards that match point threshold, getting 3 more kills. And goodbye, CSU Fullerton.
Somebody does not want to be left behind in the race to match point. I'm not going to name any names, but we may see them pick up a few more kills on the way in. As it is, University of Utah start making their way into the center of zone, while Kennesaw State Gold are fighting more for the edge. Funnily enough, Kennesaw State Gold and Kennesaw State Black very close to each other.
As UCSD Gold is going to take a kill on a Zachariah Guelfar. Not in the best position for now, being down a player. Future Streams clearly following my logic earlier on with a lot of these teams on the lower end of the leaderboard needing to get some kills on the board. And he's picking up the Revenant coming into this game. He wants those kills and he wants them now. Won't be able to find them early, as Fisher Esports always in the mood to fight. Never ones to back down from a challenge. They're getting challenged by UIUC, a team who could really use the points. And Fisher are going to look for this off the back of the Maggie Ball that I think got zapped by the first Conduit ulti. They're not really in the best position. Dom to practice losing a lot of HP. Maggie Drill isn't even going to do too much in response. And everybody on Fisher Esports is either cracked or almost there. But a really bad play from Suemo seems to put him in harm's way. And Serial Cat is going to get the second kill of the fight. He may even find the third. Noma at least gets something on the board. But it's more KP locked in for Fisher.
It may not be the boxing match that I wanted, but it's the adrenaline that Fisher are known for giving us. Illini, unfortunately, come face to face with the Grim Reapers of the lobby, and Fisher keep doing what they did in the semifinals yesterday, shutting down squads and moving ever higher on the leaderboard. Their points being the big thing that separates them. I don't know whether I want them to find a win here or not. I'd like to see Fisher continue to play this way, but if Fisher win this game, I almost feel like it's cursed and they can't find another win after, given how infrequently they actually find first place when compared to the amount of kills that they get. Fortunately, no one else too close to Fisher, although UCSD are on the way towards a ring. This next zone closing in, however, will give a lot of squads on the outside of ring the opportunity to hit third beacon information, which is going to be really useful for a lot of our squads. If you're not Western Outlaws, if you're not just, running for your life as a solo.
Yeah, if you're not Cumberland either. Western Outlaws not the only one running for their lives as a solo, with these two also neighboring each other on the leaderboard. Western Outlaws in 12th, Western Outlaws in 12th, yes, or no, 13th. Cumberland in 12th. Only 1 point away from each other. They're the same number of people alive, and they may soon if Western Outlaws goes down, because it doesn't seem like Zach W. Keys is going to be alive for very long. Nice shots out of Misplays, and more KP to KSU Gold. Getting rewarded for their good spot in zone and being blessed with an extra point on the board. Not really in the spot where you're going to get a ton of KP, so you'll take every single one that you can get. That's not where you expect to get the boon to your points from, though. Playing out of this position early, what you're expecting is some very solid placement on a potential ring pull up to the north side near Resort.
I'm starting to expect SJSU to go down. Bellevue have already taken 2 of their members out, and a squad that is fighting this hard in the center of zone. Bellevue terrify me in this game.
Wow.
SJSU are gone, and all 3 of those kills go to Bellevue. That is 2 full squads wiped out by Bellevue, who are playing zone.
And they're still just going to continue to run around. They want their cake and they want to eat it too. It's not just the good spot in zone, but all the kills they can find. A Southern Miss. Sparrow went out very early on to try and push onto this squad, but they are very early on getting shown that this may not be the play. It's Tamu Maroon Gonna try and hold them off for as long as possible to look outside, but Mangsta has taken down Nabber, who went all the way to the other end to try and find a unique angle onto Southern Miss. All that's gonna do is serve to give them that first kill that they needed to really be able to take this 3v3 effectively. It's now a 3-on-2, and although Sheila is prepped for this doorway, it's a lot of damage from the R9 anyways, and the next Rampart 2 to go up just gonna mean that Thales is gonna be even less expected than before. Texas A&M Maroon will go down in 14th place as Southern Miss are bullying everybody else in Resort.
And while that fight went down, Fisher eliminated UCSD, the one squad that shared Energy Bank with them. They continue to prowl around the edge of zone. So while Southern Miss wreak havoc in the north, we have no questions about who are kings of the south. Fisher starting to make their way into City Hall now, while the Guelph Griffins approach from the north. Currently, Kingdom of Southern Miss, but that's before Future Streams whips out the Revenant and just starts cooking people alive. Triple Take gonna help take down a second. That's what Revenant's all about, baby.
And he's gonna back away as well. The Revenant Q helps him get back to safety. 2 knocks were found, and maybe they'll hope that somebody else can finish off that squad, or the Vortex is just going to run so far away that there's no chance he'll get his teammates back up. That's more KP locked in for 12. And they get a really solid spot towards the north end of the ring. That's something to watch for, as this could continue to pull to that north side. For now, though, we'll bookmark where Guelph is at. I can't imagine they're going to be running away from that spot for too long, as Minnesota State Mavericks are going to be kept out of their building. Great knockdown for Mez as the Rampart wall actually works against the Mavericks. And Fisher Esports are going to absolutely look for this kill and the full squad wipe with it. As the Maggie Ball goes in, the nade actually coming in, I believe, from Utah is going to slow Fisher down just a bit as they recognize it's not just a straight 3v3. The attempt at Minnesota State Mavericks to get away is not going to work. So they will get all the kills and not get knocked down by that third party either.
Serial Cat played the game of how much pressure can I apply while never entering the building? And the answer was most of their health bars, to be honest. Fisher Esports, even while sustaining shots from University of Utah, lose no one while fighting, I'm going to call it 1.5 squads. Fisher now have their sights, unfortunately, set on University of Utah, and I like that Utah is already rotating away. They go, whatever that was, we don't want any part of it. Let's make as much space between us and Fisher as possible. They may not know it's Fisher, but when you watch that fight, you might not know, but you know.
Yeah, you know it's scary. That's what you know. As UC Irvine actually going to watch Utah run up on them for a second, so Utah has to try and get away to somewhere else. UCI coming through from the south end of the map once again, but still able to make it this far. No kills on the board yet for them. They won't be finding these kills onto Utah, but they will be found by someone as Floth is going to knock down Mez. Seems like the res has come through, as that Newcastle makes it so much easier. But they are running up on a spot in ring that I think actually might be in for quite some time, as it looked like for ring 4, it'll be pulling over to this west end of the third ring. So Utah honestly are a lot safer than they realize if they can just find somewhere that's out of someone's line of sight. But that challenge has been something they've been trying to do all game long, and it has not been easy.
Dude, man, here's the final blow to the Western Outlaws. Not a bad spot to be in. We've got Bellevue picking another fight in the north, and Kennesaw State Black securing their position in the center of zone. This is a very passive game from Kennesaw State Black. Not one that's going to get them a lot of points unless they're able to win it. That's a risky spot that you put yourself in when you play very hard, very passive zone.
Still somehow all of Utah not dead, as Ottawa Braves are going to get a really nice position in the parking lot. And whether they know it or not, it will continue to pull in this direction. Bellevue are going to go down in 11th place, though. Seemingly trying to do a little too much. You said earlier they were looking for kills and playing in ring, but they're not going to be allowed to do either of those for the rest of the game. Only 1 placement point and 6 kills is not going to be enough to get them to 60 points. So come Storm Point, they will not be contesting to win match point in 5. It'll only be Fisher unless Ottawa Braves or anybody else down the leaderboard has a nuke of a game.
That is an absolutely insane game. Kennesaw State Gold they may be setting themselves up for one. Trying to play the bridge this time. It's not as powerful as it has been in rings past, but still quite a bit of high ground. The problem with the bridge is that it puts you right in the sightlines of Fisher Esports. So as Kennesaw State Gold and Fisher barrel towards each other in what seems like an inevitable engagement, the rest of the lobby is going to coalesce around this. The zone gets so much smaller, and Fisher have a lot less space to pick fights in the same way as they did earlier.
Not a ton of active cover for Fisher. But Dom2 Crack still able to get away as Kennesaw State Gold want to try and press this. Bangle needs to be popped for Fisher to keep Kennesaw State Gold at bay, and even that isn't going to be super effective because it only gets so far. So Kennesaw State Gold able to press Fisher very far out the south end of the ring, and that's a spot they'll look to contest for later on, as Fisher do have a little bit of a road to play on the other side, so they should be okay. Southern Miss, who expected this to end up a lot closer to Resort than it has ended up, are going to have to look for some kind of a spot forward. It's Southeastern Blue looking to take a fight inside of City Hall, and they started off incredibly strong. The Sheila is going to slow down the push a bit, but eventually they will still find the opportunity. Toast Grilled not quite taken down yet, but Southeast Blue are very close to finding this wipe, but they're easily going to die to the ring. Janky doesn't have time to get the range off. Two of them fly down. The foresight was not there. The best that Southeastern Blue can hope for is that the ring takes down Augusta, and it will do just that, but they've thrown their game away for the kills.
Good port. Vortex may still keep things alive for Southeastern against all odds, but right into the arms of UC Irvine. Solo v solo, and I think this was scouted out by Southeastern. I do wonder if that fight comes to a head. Fisher start looking straight at the bridge. We did preview this fight earlier, as it is Kennesaw State Gold that are sitting on top of it. Fisher have a lot of space, a lot of time, and a lot of ability to heal, but not a whole lot of damage just yet. See a roll defensively up Kennesaw State as they get pushed back, with now no real cover to work with. Very awkward fight for Kennesaw. Maybe they can pull something together. Double jump out of Aegis. Plays Trixie, but does not survive. Kennesaw State Gold now down to their last member. Misplays. Triple take makes it work, and Fisher go down!
Double 99s with a T-take against a guy who was basically full on HP after you were stuck in a 1-on-2. And that was the #1 fighting team in the lobby that you just put down that way. Kennesaw State Gold. Those scriptwriters did a phenomenal job, but man, allegedly, that's really looking like they might have, I don't know. This is looking like unreal stuff out of KSU Gold, because man, have they been playing a phenomenal set of Apex so far, and that was perhaps the most impressive individual play that we have seen out of anybody.
I have to agree. The reset from Kennesaw State Gold, absolutely blessed. They move on forward to the next ring, where Southern Miss have just taken down Guelph. Kennesaw State Black, curiously, right in the way of Kennesaw State Gold. I do wonder if these squads will end up fighting each other. Kraber showing up in the lobby for the Ottawa Braves keeps them with a strong argument for making another top 3 appearance.
The Ottawa Braves are getting locked out for one end. KSU Gold, they want to play at the very least the bottom of this parking lot. If not, they want to try and take the fight onto Ottawa Braves, but Misplays has been knocked down. That's a big miss from KSU Gold. And so now it's only 2 players that are below Ottawa Braves. They can look to try and finish this off, and Aegis almost going to get 1 clip. The G7 Scout only needs a single shot to take him down. And now, Wrecked Emporium alone against the world, and he will not stand much of a chance. Ottawa Braves keep their parking lot clear, and the best that KSU Gold can get out of this game is 5th.
It's looking really good for Ottawa Braves. I can't lie to you. Only 4 squads left, and one of them a solo. Might give Ottawa Braves, and will give Ottawa Braves, yet another top 3 placement. Fantastic for them, and even better that Southern Miss are fighting right now. Southern Miss are committing to Kennesaw State Black. This opens everything up for the Ottawa Braves to win the game.
I guess Nales must have thought somebody was way lower on health than they were, as Max eventually ends up getting the kills, but Ottawa Braves are coming through to finish off this duo. Cloaked nearly able to find the 1 clip on the first, but he can easily line them both up himself, and he'll do just that. Ottawa Braves with their 2nd win of the day, and they now are on a streak of 3 games in a row, placing in the top 2, and I'm pretty confident that after that game, they'll hit the match point threshold as well.
Ottawa Braves are bar none our best performing squad when it comes to what we evaluate match point on. The wins. The wins are everything. How far are they from actually being on match point, though? Because the danger lies here in that Fisher, who don't win very many games, are on match point, and that means they still got one in the bank somewhere. Can Ottawa Braves keep that at bay? Will they continue to rack up the wins and the extremely high placements? This squad is really impressing me today. I think they can take it, but it's a matter of time, surely, for Fisher.
And when we come back from this next up break, we'll get a chance to see who can start to take things home. We've already got a team guaranteed on match point in Fisher. Ottawa Braves might have hit it too. In game number 5 on Storm Point, the first chance these teams will have to close us out for our match point finals. You won't want to miss this team, their opportunities at closing everything out.
Number 9, diamonds in my teeth, I got a lot of shine. Running up the number, that's a lot of crime. Try to take it from me, must be out your mind.
I'm shooting my shot and I'm already grinning. You know that I'm one up on one of you sending. You know you've been cutting, you know I'm ascending. I'm one up, I'm winning. I'm one up, I'm winning. Go take a look independent. I'm making my money like it's never ending. I took all my losses, I roll with the bosses. I know where they cost and I'm so independent. We'll take a look independent. I'm making my money like it's never ending. I took all my losses, I roll with the bosses. I know where they cost and I'm so independent. I'm one up, I'm winning. I'm one up, I'm winning.
Number 9, diamonds in my teeth, I got a lot of shine. Running up the number, that's a lot of crime. Try to take it from me, must be out your mind.
I got a lot of shine. I just wanna know who got a shine. Try and take it from me. Take it from me.
Stage 2 signups being up is some exciting stuff, but we are still not done with stage number 1 just yet. We've just hit the point where any team who surpasses 60 points can close us out with a win. And just like that, Fisher Esports and the Ottawa Braves, the first two with the chance to do just that coming into Storm Point.
It is tight. Fisher Esports, I mean, man, they're a fun squad to watch. Man, do they pick up a lot of kills, but the Ottawa Braves are proving that great endgame play really can keep up with fragging out. I love the way that Ottawa Braves have prioritized winning games, getting to top 3 as often as possible. I love Fisher. Got a lot of love for the lads. Everybody in this lobby has been, of course, playing their hearts out. But to see 2 completely different playstyles both be eligible for match point on our 5th game means that at any point, this could be it.
Every opportunity could come through to close it out, and even just scoring a lot of points, if it does get closed out, does still matter, because it's not like only first place walks away with anything. Just to contextualize it for everybody, first place on the day will win $575, excuse me, as well as $500+ in Corsair gear and $500+ in Scuff gear. But second place walks away with $450, third place $325, fourth place $250, and fifth place $150. So a lot to be fought for, even if you don't hit match point early enough to contest to get first or second. You're still fighting to maybe walk home with across the squad a couple $100, which is definitely nothing to scoff at as we get ready for Storm Point. It is going to be a hotly contested match, and I am, first of all, most excited to see what Fisher Esports are going to do. Ottawa Braves clearly already have winning figured out. They know how to get wins that they need to close out match point finals. What is Fisher going to do?
Fisher...
We must reposition
They're,
here.
they're just... I mean, they're going to run at people, right?
Yeah, maybe not. I don't know. It's yeah, they're gonna run. They're gonna run at people. Yeah, they're gonna run at people.
Like, I started thinking about it critically, and and I was like, why am I doing this? I mean, I look at their comp, I look at their PO, and I go, oh, that's so awesome. They have a ring console. Doesn't matter. They can't scan it. They don't
Why
care.
would they?
Fisher Esports, they're gonna sprint at as many people as possible, and that is why we love them. Speaking of sprinting at people, Guelph Griffins definitely did this yesterday. It wasn't against Illinois Orange, it was against Texas Orange, and Illinois are unprepared for Guelph full sending Cenote from Bean.
And Illinois really just not well studied up, it seems, because this was something you
Should've
should have
watched
been able
the
to
VOD.
read into. Yep. This is something we should have known was going to happen if we saw Guelph go to Bean. I mean, you picked Bean over Dev Coast. I know Fisher is scary, but there's going to be a thought process behind taking Bean over Dev Coast. And this was the thought process. They're going to run him down, and Plum Toaster's not even going to get out of the car. Illinois Orange will be sent home in 20th place, a team that was in 19th coming into this game, that is second to last, will continue to be kept very far away from match point.
You got to respect the hustle. Well,
sure.
know what they want, and they're gonna keep playing for it. That is some awesome moves out of Guelph. Looking at this zone. First time we don't see Kennesaw getting a ring pull. This one going over towards Southern Miss, and I will say, for Kennesaw, at least it's not too far off. They get into zone pretty darn quickly, at least Kennesaw State Blackdew coming out of Coastal Camp. They've got the ring read. They've also got, presumably, the survey beacon scan for as much as it's going to help them. And now it's about setting up for the end game. The same can be said of Southern Miss, and San Jose State very soon as they leave Jurassic, will be doing much the same.
San Jose State may not get the chance to leave Jurassic, though, because Utah is starting to run up on him over there. Mobius in the gang. Mobius, former APAC South professional back in 2022-2023. You're going to find some good entry damage, but his teammates are not really going to follow up so well, as they're going to just run away. Now Mobius isolated deep in Jurassic, far away from both of his teammates. Schmub's going to find an angle onto him, and now that Pathfinder has got to find a way to get out. Either that or ask his teammates to start to duck back in and try and help him out. It is going to be awkward either way. Nkosu, fortunately, can't quite find this information on the Seer scan. Thanks to a third team coming in as well of Cumberland, it looks like Mobius has been able to find his way back out to Pylon, though Schmub is going to have an angle on this and try and maybe look for some damage. Doesn't quite have the scope to see too much further, at least not on the Prowler. But Narwhal Boy is going to let him know he sees where Schmub's at, and everybody in Jurassic will walk away from one another.
Some folks may be wondering, as we get deeper into these games, what is going on with the compositions? What is going on with Guelph taking another fight? This one's up against Bellevue. Guelph shut down Bellevue last time. Doesn't seem like the case this time. Future Streams with just about 100 HP and a Dream is going to have to take on Juxi, and the shots just not connecting in the right way. Juxi confident enough to take that one spray, but not confident enough to finish things off, is actually going to full-on retreat deep into Cenote, giving Guelph a chance to reset if they are able to fend off the third party that's coming in for them. Southeastern Blue jumped all over Guelph. Future Streams will meet his end.
Yeah, Guelph are all gone.
Amp here.
Southeastern Blue, though, the team to come through in third party between Guelph, a team who isn't necessarily incredibly high on the standings. They're coming in 7th place, and Bellevue, a team in 3rd. Southeastern Blue, they're in 9th. Not quite the individual accolades of some of the players on Bellevue or on Guelph, but they're certainly here to take advantage. And you can't leave them that free of a third party without expecting them to go find that KP. They're going to work their way into the southern side of Barometer eventually, but first they're going to try and find Juxi. They continue to chase him into the ring. They are not content to leave this KP ungathered and leave Bellevue with the potential to get more and more points. Bellevue came into this game 8 points off of match point, and it doesn't look like they'll get any closer by the very end. Maybe 1 or 2 points landed total. But Janky is surely soon to find this KP.
Well, some really nice movement out of Juxi, but fortunately it just doesn't matter much. You got 3 people chasing you down, no cover, and no cooldown. Southeastern Blue escort yet another team from the lobby, leaving us with 17 squads left. And may I remind everybody, we don't have Ultra of Ramparts in this game. Caustic and Valkyrie were banned in the first 2. Things are getting tight for legend compositions for comfort of all of our different teams, and that's going to include Ottawa Braves, who have really been using the Rampart over the last couple of games to do extraordinary things, placing top 3, as we said, the most of any team in the lobby. Ottawa Braves are not in zone. They are rotating very far to the south, very far away from home, and this could be one of their toughest games yet, as they currently sit on match point. They need to actually win to close us out here.
Funny enough, 2 teams weren't actually pictured in that zone shot that we had because they were just so far away. UC Irvine only just now making their way to the bottom of Bunny Hill up near Wall, and Texas Orange are in the Wall. They are very far away from Ring, and it has been just the rotate of doom and despair for the Longhorns trying to get anywhere. Ottawa Braves, though, continue to make good progress as San Jose State, along with pretty much everybody else in the lobby, aside from UC Irvine, Texas Orange, Fisher, Utah, and Ottawa, are already in Barometer. So some of these teams moving through later are not going to have a wealth of spots to choose from because they've all been taken. Barrow has a decent amount of spots to pick from for sure, but 11, 12 teams already picking out their first spots. Even if you can find a spot, it certainly won't be prime, but that isn't really a prime play out of Slasher. I guess Cumberland's just going to have to commit to this fight.
Man, he almost got that. That is a real difficult way to go down. San Jose State Blue are going to stick the res safely enough. And Cumberland University forced to recommit after losing one. Arcstar gonna go out, Rez going to follow, but there's so much pressure from SJSU that it almost denies this. And after picking up one Rez, they just lose another. Cumberland being picked apart as even UCSD are looking at this.
UCSD do land a Maggie drill on that, but it's not quite gonna land enough on a Seiken. It's not going to work out. UCSD denied that KP. Very unfortunate as they are the last place team up to this point so far. But Tamo Maroon are coming through to try and third party SJSU Blue. Nade is going to go down because there was a down found onto Shmub, but they just barely managed to skirt around the corner. And now SJSU Blue seem to be okay. Nades aren't going to be a big problem because the Watson gen is right here, and they've also got this other hallway to play around. Along with the Watson, you got Bang Smoke, so you can close off the lines of sight, and eventually, you gain a lot of damage, get some reses, farm that Evo up a little bit, and everybody's still alive all the same.
It's not very often that you see a fight for those tunnels as well, especially with Tamu not being punished from the outside. It means there aren't a lot of teams in Barometer stacked up in the center of it. There are a lot of squads playing the buildings just off to the east side where Southern Miss and UCSD are, Minnesota State Mavericks in there. There are a lot of teams off to the south, but the center of Barometer, actually pretty unpopulated as things go relative to other Barometer zones. I'm curious how long that stays true, especially as teams like UCSD are going to start moving in from the side throughout this ring and through further contractions of it. Everybody's going to be forced into smaller and smaller areas. UCSD have definitely made their bet, but taking a look at this ring, they and so many other squads will actually need to move through the center of Barometer in order to survive.
Very important fight happening here for the Ottawa Braves. As towards the side, very much on their own, isolated in a 3-on-3 against Southeastern Blue, but they're the ones with purple shields. So they can afford to pop a couple extra heals and take their time, but they want this house, and they will not be kept away by Vortex, especially not if Cloaked is going to one-clip them. 2 versus 3 now. The Newcastle's going to try and make something happen, but you can only do so much. Back up, but immediately likely to be knocked down by the Sparrow, and even if it's not the Sparrow, it's just the R9 for Cloaked. To get 2 more kills on his Southeast Blue, and I don't quite know where that last member got, but he won't get too far away before he goes down. Ottawa Braves take the building that they wanted. Now they kind of have this southeast corner to themselves, and although they don't know it, ring number 3 still has this building in, so it's going to be a very solid spot to play, as you could even move up to that island just to your east.
SU eliminated Utah in the meantime, and I do find it a little poetic that Southeastern died fighting for at least the southern end of zone. Fisher Esports.
Did I call it the Southeast by accident and throw you off? I think I might have
you know
done
what? I at least I thought about it before regurgitating it. You know,
my
it was.
bad. That's on me.
No, I'm going to go so far as to say you're right. It is the southeastern side. Anywhere that southeastern are, it's the southeastern side.
Oh,
surely.
Wait a minute. I like where this is going.
Yeah.
Instead of admitting my faults, I will try to make it seem like
You're
I
just
was
an
actually
innovator.
I was doing something like at a level beyond. That's all it is. I'm not stupid. You're
guy
just
gets
not
it.
able to understand things on my level.
The level of poetry on this broadcast, you can't overcome it.
Exactly. Tough to
What
overcome Southern
are
Miss.
able to,
Yeah.
to overcome themselves. It is not unusual in zones like this to move out towards the south, but even with Southern Miss and their Pathfinder, I do think it's a little bit awkward here. This zone seems to favor so much of the opposite side of Barometer that if you're up on high ground, I think you got a lot of teams weeping for no Valkyrie. The fact that that was such an early ban really hurts squad's rotational abilities, because realistically, you're not pulling an evac tower to go all the way over towards Cenote.
And coming into this next ring, not a ton of spots that are actually in terms of buildings. Gonna need to see teams bring the Newcastle to try and help out as the Rotate of Doom and Despair for Texas Orange has not gotten any easier. They're still alive at least, so that's something, but really in a tough spot that they'll have to move out of. Can't really move up to the left because of the angles that Ottawa Braves has, as well as Western Outlaws from the nut, but they're just gonna have to be okay with taking this spot inside of the spider tunnel out from Cenote and see where they can move forward from there. As Fisher Esports, one of our match point teams, are losing lives very early on. Slothulus has 50 HP, and I don't know how they took this much damage, but it's eventually going to be finished off. Southern Miss are going to take down one of our 2 match point squads in Fisher.
That is absolutely huge for the lobby. With Fisher going down, the pressure's really been put on Ottawa Braves, who have a nice spot in zone, I will say. Remember, they fought for the spot out towards Cenote earlier, so there's not a lot of teams on that side. Actually turning this into a win is very, very difficult, and the lobby should have just breathed a small sigh of relief, realizing that they are only 1 squad's elimination away from having another chance to get their own hats in the ring.
Western Outlaws with a tough rotate ahead of them. Still yet to move, and Pain taking the pain, even trying to open a doorway to see what's going on outside. It will not be easy if that's any indication. It's Texas Orange really putting the pressure on them, deciding that if we had to rotate all this way just to get in, I didn't come all this way for nothing. I'm going home with something, even if it's just a couple of KP onto Western Outlaws. They're very isolated on this side of the ring without an obvious spot to rotate to for either of them. There are really no obvious spots to rotate to at all, as this final ring is looking like the Earth the way it is 2/3 water.
Yeah, the last ring is crazy. And the craziest thing about it is that Ottawa Braves have really pulled fantastically. They've got cover, they've got a building, they've got a good chance of winning this game, if I'm honest. A team like Kennesaw State Gold will have to be the squad to take that away from them as they run the south side of the zone. But with Southern Miss approaching, Kennesaw State Gold have got to fight for it.
And they're going to try and take down Southern Miss. Good pop of the shield back, though, is going to manage to keep Dales alive. He'll defend himself, but only for a certain amount of time. Dales finishes off Aegis, but it looks like a knock was found in the meantime by Wrecked Emporium. Misplays very far away. Mangsta, barely any HP, but he's going to try and look for whatever he can possibly get out of this, but from behind, he'll get shut down. It's Shmub from SJSU Blue to end up with those kills, and KSU to advance towards the hot dog, the only building that's still in next ring, but that's why it's not really a good one.
See how long Kennesaw State can survive, hopefully thrive there, as they will need a res for a good shot at actually winning this game. Western Outlaws just hoping for a few more points, if anything. Move in, eliminate Augusta. Should soon go down. Payne low and taken out as the Western Outlaws will fall. Texas Orange, the next perhaps to go as Texas A&M looks straight at them. Our two Texas squads going face to face. Neither one really winning as Texas Orange are relegated into the zone. Moving out behind the Catalyst wall, Zwifty will finish him off, but Texas A&M are not looking very good. And that cat wall, that cover, is about to go down. Having fallen, Zwifty sticks a ballsy res. But look at this!
Oh my
Ottawa
gosh.
Braves have everything they could hope for.
I wanted to get more than 5 games, man. This game just looks over. You have to, like, what can anybody else in the lobby even do? Cumberland can at least fight for some points, and that's honestly a good call, because you're going to need him. The set's about to end, most likely, and Cumberland don't want to go home without at least making an effort to get to the top 5. They'll take some KP as they take down 2 members of KSU Black. One still remains. I think he's gotten up to the roof, but Cumberland able to get a really good position inside of this building, and eventually all of KSU Black will go down. Here comes UCI, but they're going to be on the wrong end of the fight with Cumberland, and now they'll go down in 6. More kills locked down for Cumberland University.
Now, I will say, Happy, I'm looking for an Ottawa Braves win here, as anybody should be. But it is not over. Kennesaw State Gold, they've got a bit of a spot in zone. They've got Bang ult. They've got survivability with the Watson. And Ottawa Braves, for all that they have a good position, they don't want to move. That lets teams like Texas A&M move in with the Catalyst wall and an evac tower. It's Cumberland, it's Minnesota State Mavericks that I'm worried about. Ottawa Braves deny the evac tower. Minnesota State go down. Texas A&M with a chance at taking the north side will have to use a cat wall in order to make it. Out go the smokes. Kennesaw State starting to swing out. We are in the top 3. It is 2 duos versus the Ottawa Braves. Can these 2 duos do anything against a squad that refuses to place outside of top 3 and is looking for their win? Texas A&M go down!
It's got to be over, isn't it? 2 players on the wrong side of the ring. They get a knock on a Logan Reap, but misplays. Getting that knock was only just to respawn, and it's Ottawa Braves who go back to back to back to back top 2s, and then back-to-back wins to close us out in 5. The moment they could get the win, they do exactly what they were destined to do from the jump. And your Stage 1 winners for Season 4 of Octane Collegiate are the Ottawa Braves.
This was a fantastic run from the Ottawa Braves and really showcased an incredible amount of control. There are times when you come up on end games in match point and you go, Okay, so I guess a bunch of people were on match point and somebody just won. But you look at Ottawa Braves, and while we did come up on that final zone and go, ooh, that looks really good for the Ottawa Braves. Coming up on that game, we were praising their game plan time and time again. They knew when to play small, they knew when to take up space, and they knew how to win in end games when it evades so many squads to even get there in the first place. Ottawa Braves won so much and succeeded so well without overly fragging out, without overreaching at any point, that I'm coming away from today going, I mean, they may not have gotten the most kills, but this is clearly the team that during stage 1, see what happens in stage 2, but during stage 1 had the best command of Apex Legends.
And with that, it's already over. That is one of the fastest match point sets, I think, that have been seen most of competitive Apex that I can remember. But you got to admit that it's Ottawa Braves. They won 3 of the 5 games that we saw today. If it was going to be anybody, they were easily the most deserving of getting that, as we can actually take a look at the final scoreboard just to see where everybody ended up finishing off. Ottawa Braves take first place with 82 points. Fisher, the only other team to get match point at all, even including the scores from the last game, will end up in second. And then rounding out the top 5, everybody who got some prizing out of this endeavor. It's a 3rd place for Kennesaw State Gold, a 4th place for Bellevue, and a 5th place for Southern Miss.
RJ Cloaked and Reap, really fantastic play. I'd love to go back and just take a look at their rotations, the way that they played this out, because again, their end game's so clean. Fisher as well. I'm looking forward to their next season. It is clear the squad is incredibly talented. They did so well in the semifinals, but even in the semifinals, we could tell the team did not win very often for as many points as they put up. Kennesaw State Gold had a great time. Bellevue University, also another squad that looked like they were on the path to slay out on the same level as Fisher Esports, but just fell a little earlier a couple times. And Southern Miss, for having come out of semifinal B, the head team, I think made a very strong argument in this game, if not as commanding of one as they did in semifinals.
Yeah, and we were told yesterday that it'll be the final semester for Thales and Mangsta of Southern Miss. So
True.
the end of an era for one of the most dominant teams that Octane has had in the last couple of seasons. But that'll be all for them, and that'll be all for us from the Octane Collegiate stream. Congratulations to the Ottawa Braves for closing out Stage 1 of Season 4. Every single one of the teams that you've gotten to see through a lot of these playoff streams, though, will be back in Open and Contenders and Premier maybe next season. Also, everybody who played in this lobby today already guaranteed a spot in Premier for Stage 2. So these guys will have many more opportunities to qualify for champs and then maybe even get good results on the board there or in Stage 2 or anything of the like. But for Stage 1, Octane Collegiate has concluded. Thank you so much for joining us. My name's been Happy. Along with me has been Dia. Thank you so much to Crazy P and Kai on the back end, making everything work, and everybody else who helped us with our broadcasts through the semester, including our good friend Tango Mango Down. But that'll be all until Stage 2. We hope to catch you sooner rather than later, and you'll come back for the next stage of Year 4 of Octane Collegiate. But for now, it's goodbye, and I hope you have a wonderful night.